Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Games Done Quick Hot Fix on this spectacular Sunday morning or afternoon or perhaps evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Adef. This is PB Precipice, which is the show where we display runners who are on the verge of a personal best in their respective run. Our boy Player 5 is joining us today, and he will be showing off Tears of the Kingdom Any Percent 1.0, which is a rather large collection of words that we will be dissecting in just a moment. But first, some announcements, of course. If you ever miss out on any hotfix shows or past events, be sure to check out the VODs on youtube.com/GamesDoneQuick. If you're already there, consider subscribing. And Games Done Quick is hiring. If you have experience in social media creation and want to help out at our live events, be sure to go to gamesdonequick.com/jobs to apply. P5, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm chilling. It's Sunday morning, but there's no better way for me to wake up than to some Zelda, I think. P5, can you tell us a little bit about the run we're about to see?
All right. So Tears of the Kingdom Any Percent. Tears of the Kingdom, fairly popular game. The sequel to Breath of the Wild. And the speedrun is actually structured pretty similarly for Any Percent. Basically, unskippable tutorial section into open world, so you can just go straight to the end with lots of glitches and shenanigans.
And what this 1.0.0 nonsense? What does that mean?
So they've been rolling out updates every so often, and so the current version of Tears of the Kingdom is 1.2.0. But there've been like 4 or so updates, and each time they update, they've been patching some glitches, which is unlike Breath of the Wild. They kind of didn't touch any of the major glitches that got found, partially because those are found like later in the game's lifespan. But to essentially preserve the old glitches, the leaderboard was split into pre-current patch and current patch. And so pre-current patch leaderboard has any of the versions is allowed other than the current version. And so 1.0 is the fastest because you have access to the most glitches, basically.
Wonderful. Well, whenever you're ready to take it away and do some attempts, I think we're excited. Gamers in chat, get your emotes in, and P5, good luck.
Thank you.
I know we're all excited to see some Tears of the Kingdom, I think.
Me too.
You're not sick of it yet? You're still excited?
Not yet. Yeah, this game speedrun is it's been pretty fun because I've only speedran Breath of the Wild in the past. So this is like my second speedrun game, except it's very similar. It's the same engine. Overall movement is kind of the same, but has been fun.
So obviously for everybody watching at home, this is a fun little glitch. P5, if you've played this game, came out this year obviously, there's this massive intro sequence where you follow Zelda through this cave to get down to the spot where Ganon is lying in slumber. And it's quite lengthy. So lengthy, in fact, that shortly after the game's release, the community voted to actually skip this segment since it's not really any meaningful inputs, and they would just start the timer after it. But as you can see, Player 5 is now out of bounds through some clever trickery. And this allows you to sort of race through this intro segment And it's a pretty difficult trick, so P5 has to reset here a lot. But it forced the community to re-include the intro again because now there is meaningful time save here.
Yeah, it was so I think the climb jump clips were found. I don't really know the timeline on that, but somebody did it accidentally. Later in the game, part of the run, found an accidental like climb jump clip, and then somebody else, Timber, took that and managed to find a spot in the intro. But basically the vote happened for intro skip, and it passed. I think it was like 83% of people voted for it. And then like a week later, Timber released a video about how you can save a bunch of time. But yeah, intro skip. So this clip is only possible, as far as we know, on 1.0. There's an interesting version difference, but they changed kind of how Link like climbs walls. Because if you try to do the same like clip, Link will not be able to like hang on the ceiling in the same way. Okay, but here basically running out of bounds, any weird like jumps or movement climbing is to avoid cutscene triggers because they extend out of bounds. Oh, I think I lost like for the time there.
Yeah, it's really like I don't know how you feel about it, and I'd actually be interested to hear your thoughts, but it's always like a nice and also very bad thing when like a very cool skip is found at the beginning of a run. It's like, oh, this is really neat, and when people are watching the PB, they're like, oh, this is so sick. But if it's really hard, it's like, well, I'd like to get it first try because I'd rather reset now than later. And so you're kind of just drilling the first trick for hours.
Yeah. Well, the nice part about Tears of the Kingdom is that not only is there the intro clip, but right after you watch this lovely cutscene, which is 4 minutes and unskippable, thank you, Nintendo, you get to do another really hard trick.
Isn't that lovely?
Which is great. It's a really nice combination. I think the long unskippable cutscene into very hard trick, that's nice.
We love to see it. We can thank SVA, right, for the for the next one. I love that, you know, SVA has been finding stuff in Zelda for like, and running quite competitively in 3D Zelda titles for like well over a decade now, and it's just hilarious to me that like one of the biggest skips in the first 5 minutes was found by him in this game as well. He just never stops.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't realize he was running it, and then he just drops like new tech.
It's very classic SVA, honestly. Doesn't tell anybody what's going on, just drops a video and is like, here, I revolutionized your speedrun for you. See ya. You won't hear from me again. I'm going to go play Ocarina of Time Bingo for another couple of years. You'll hear from me later. Yeah, the real question, though, when will Nintendo decide that, like, all cutscenes can be skippable?
No.
No. An interesting response. You know, Breath of the Wild, every cutscene pretty much is skippable. Tears of the Kingdom, is it just this one?
No. There's like the first shrine that you enter you can't skip the like activating the shrine cutscene, and you also can't skip the end of the shrine cutscene, where you get like the light of blessing, like blessing of light.
Is that the same in Breath of the Wild?
So in Breath of the Wild, you can skip them. The first time you finish a shrine, I think the animation is a little bit longer.
Yeah, it plays like
skip.
the extra bit of the first half or whatever.
Yeah. But you could skip them, which was great. I don't know why they removed that.
Not now. Yeah, it's like how in Twilight Princess, you can skip every single cutscene in the game right from new file. Like literally every cutscene in the game is skippable. And then Skyward Sword came out, and you can't skip cutscenes until New Game Plus.
Oh, wow.
And there's hours of so many cutscenes. So since the game like came out, speedrunners basically only play on New Game Plus. So much so that the categories aren't even split. Any percent is just played on New Game Plus. Which does turn out to be beneficial in a fun way, actually, because you take more damage, you take twice as much damage, and you have to die so often in that run that it actually ends up saving more time.
That's neat. It's like the master mode, right?
Yeah, I think it's called hero mode in Skyward Sword. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the aforementioned trick that SVA found, SVA 16162. It's a very fun looking jump called cog skip, for reasons that will become evident in a moment, ideally. There you go.
Yeah, I'll continue this for a bit.
Yeah, what all does that skip?
Okay, so at the beginning of the game, there's this like terminal, this green thing that you're, kind of supposed to go and talk to. And what it does is it opens a door to let you out of the Room of Awakening. It also activates some like gears, which you're not supposed to really climb, but it turns out when the gears are moving, you can climb them. And so instead of going out the door that they want you to go out of, people found a way to go out the other exit because, the recall shrine is above that first room. But you're not normally supposed to be able to get there without abilities. Yeah, we found a way. ZFG, I believe, found a way to jump on the moving cogs to make it up here. And that is called early wings because you can get to the treasure chest at the top, which has some wings. And wings are super useful. But SVA found a way to get up there without activating the cogs, the door at all. And so that skips this really long cutscene.
How much time does that save?
It's like 40 seconds first try.
Oh my god.
But yeah, here I do, and this is pretty new for my runs, but people have been doing this for a long while. Is this throw sprint tech? So it's just like a faster sprint method. It's not nearly as effective as whistle sprinting was in Breath of the Wild. It's also more difficult, but it saves maybe like 5 seconds for the whole run. So
gotta do it. Those seconds are at a premium now.
Yeah.
there's this interesting period early on in a speedrun's life cycle where people are PBing really frequently, which is almost always a signifier that there's a lot of time save still. Because obviously, like, once the game becomes more optimized, people will, at the top, will PB less frequently. But I feel like 1.0.0 Tears of the Kingdom speedruns are in this really interesting place where, like, at least for now, it feels like most of the big stuff has been found. And people are still PBing frequently, somewhat because there is still a lot of time save, but more so I just feel like there's a lot of fervor for the game right now. I'm curious what you think about, like, the game's potential time-wise.
So basically, my sum of best, and I think the fastest sum of best right now is probably Gymnast with the 43:29. And the route is the same as it's been for, like, for a while. Probably like close to a month. But yeah, basically playing around 30 seconds off of sum of best already. And while the sum of best can probably drop, oh, that should be fine. Oh, just kidding. Okay, we're gonna have to reset. Yeah. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, sick. I was also curious if since you touched the ground, it would matter.
Yeah, so weirdly enough, it's fine if you touch the... Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that happens sometimes. You get hit by a wing, even though the wing is moving forward. Blink running into it is not a good combination. But yeah, it's like as long as you have 1 foot off of the ground, you're fine. You're, like, safe.
Yeah, so P5 basically puts the two, he flies down on a wing and then puts a second one behind so that when that cutscene of the, like, him touching the thing is over, he's still on a wing, and so the game doesn't update his position as having landed on any ground. So when he voids out, he just winds up back on the platform he was on, which saves a ton of time. Also, what happened during that segment, P5 was duping wings while on the wing, which you now know all the things I know. So P5, if you want to explain that after this, feel free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, the game came out and people found like a million different ways to duplicate things within like the first couple weeks. And the easiest thing to do is sort duping, where you can just hold some items and then press Y to sort your inventory, and then B or plus to close out the menu at the same time, and that will actually duplicate the items you were holding if you did it correctly. It is, pretty easy to do. And so with Zonai devices, it's slightly different, but same concept, where you sort and then close the inventory at the same time, and it will duplicate.
Also, I'm just going to answer this question for the 1 million people in the chat room who keep asking. The timer is not necessary in the bottom left because we're just using player 5 splits. So I know this is hard, but try to move your eyeballs about 1 centimeter upwards, and there's a green number that's going up, okay? And that is time. That's time on there. So try. I know it's hard. I know it's strenuous, but do try. And I promise you'll be happy. So those zeros on the bottom, just pretend they're not there. Use a little imagination and you can do it. I believe in you. I love you. Okay.
But yeah, I guess to go back to what do I think the time's gonna look like. I think that a 43 is gonna happen very soon. That is my current goal. And after that, I'm not so sure.
Do you think you'll move on to other categories, maybe?
Yeah, probably. I think get the 43 and then probably do all dungeons.
So worth noting that like since 1.0 and current patch are the two, sort of disparate categories. I find it interesting that on current patch how it is looking now, because at first when they were vastly different, like any percent in 1.0 was like quite a bit faster, but now the 1.2 is like getting pretty close comparatively to where it was. Do you still have world record in current patch?
I do, yeah.
How do you feel about that run?
So that run, I did current patch runs for like a week, I think. So I could definitely improve it, but I am happy with, it's a 47.53. So I got sub 48 and I didn't really see sub 47 happening. So I kind of left it, but you could probably get a low 47. But yeah, like current patch speedruns, they are pretty cool. Basically, there was normally like the updates are supposed to patch glitches, but sometimes if you're lucky, they'll introduce new ones. And so in this case, 1.2 introduced something called quick smuggling, and it's a really fun glitch to play around with. Makes the speedrun very cool and very fast. It would actually be faster than the movement we do in 1.0, but yeah, it is exclusive to version 1.2.
Yeah, there's sort of that interesting dichotomy in game development where when you attempt to fix things, frequently you will unfix new things. When I worked in QA for game dev, frequently, especially towards the end of a game's development cycle, you would like, bug something. You'd be like, hey, this weird thing happens, and the developer would wave it and then respond and be like, yeah, no, if we fix that, we are opening an entire can of worms.
We'll simply have to deal with it.
Yeah, whereas Nintendo's like, oh my god, there's a glitch that a casual player will never see, but speedrunners are besmirching the great name of Eiji Aonuma. We need to find where they live and update their consoles so that they'll never see this glitch ever again. My god, what a shame. And then they just break other stuff. And they're like, what's happening?
Close. This skip definitely doesn't seem that bad when you see it done successfully, but then you look at the room, you see how much distance Link has to cover, and you realize it's actually incredible that we can even make the jump.
Yeah, what's the like frame window on that? How tight is that?
I don't know if people really looked, but basically the hard part of the trick is getting enough momentum out of your running jump to make it all the way. And so that requires you to, like, with the setup I use, you have to sprint and then jump pretty immediately. So I could see it being either like frame perfect or close to. But this is frame perfect on like a 30 FPS game. So not as tight.
Still hard.
Yeah. The real kicker is that you can't really warm it up. I mean, you can, but then you have to go through 6 minutes.
There was a Mega Man speedrunner called Cypher. Super cool guy. Been the world record holder for Mega Man 2 a couple of times. He posed a pretty interesting question on Twitter a few years ago that I feel like not really anybody talked about, and then he just continued to do it. But it's very interesting, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. He asked, do you think it should be legal in speedruns to have a second TV, and if there's a big break in a cutscene, just practice the hard segment of the run before you get there on the second TV? And the issue obviously is like it's completely unenforceable if it were illegal, but I'm curious what you think.
That's something I've thought about in this game.
I think it's legitimate and probably fine.
Yeah, I don't see why not. As long as the timer is still going.
Right, like how is that any different than warming up your hands in a cutscene or something? Like effectively both prepare you for the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely thought about like, oh, maybe I should set up a second switch. And just have Link in the Room of Awakening.
I think you could. It also gives you something to do.
True. I wonder how much it would help.
Yeah, there's also the question of like, would it actually hinder you? We've told him to play Subway Surfers during the intro cutscene, but he won't do it.
I don't know if I've ever actually played Subway Surfers.
I have not either. It's the most speedrun game on speedrun.com.
Yeah. Speedrun.com, you go to the game section and there's some random like meme game at the top every time.
That was a good, I don't know, stay on that wing, by the way. I don't know how you would just, what wordage you would use.
There's some pretty fun moments where Link actually clings to the bottom. I guess I was a little too distracted. Wait.
Oh, you didn't dupe?
Yeah, I didn't dupe. But yeah, basically Link will barely miss running onto the wing, and so he grabs onto the bottom. You can actually survive that, because if you just do a climb jump, he'll get to the top of it. It's pretty fun. There we go.
That trick looks hard to me.
Yeah, so wing drops are actually pretty difficult when you don't have speed food. Because, yeah, we don't have any abilities. And Link doesn't run fast enough to, like, keep up with the wing's momentum. So you kind of have to drop it at the right time so that the wing will hit the edge of the cliff in front of him and slow down enough for him to catch up. So right there, I actually dropped 2 wings because it kind of makes it more lenient on when you can drop the wing, because they're like stacked on top of each other. But wing drops used to be the hardest part of the run.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I love how, because this is the same engine as Breath of the Wild, like they can give it as many visual updates as they want and change a bunch of stuff. It's still funny to me that like so many of the persistent things, like you picked up that shield and the game didn't load the image for a second, like that's a Breath of the Wild problem. Or like throw sprinting, showing the Master Sword is low on energy forever is just like whistle sprinting, or you know, throw sprinting when your sword's about to break. It's like, oh good, all the terribly annoying stuff is back. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a DLC for Breath of the Wild.
Don't say that.
This game is very cool, though.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed my time with this game. You know what? I am going to learn current patch. I'm going to do it.
Is your Switch updated?
Yeah. I think I'm on 1.1.
Ooh, something interesting. So, you know, the leaderboard is split into current patch, pre-current patch. And pre-current patch is like all of the versions. So it turns out for a category like all dungeons, a 1.1 is actually faster.
Oh, Pog, I can sell my Switch on the black market for a bunch of money.
But yeah, basically there's a couple of glitches that are useful for speedruns, like very useful. But one works better on 1.0 and the other works better on 1.1. There's auto build cancel slides, which is, you know, super fast movement. You won't see it in this run. We used to actually do auto cancel shenanigans, but then a new faster glitch was found for any percent. But it gives you like super fast overworld movement. And the slides actually move faster on version 1.1. That's a big enough difference that like longer categories that have to move really far will actually play on a later version. Even though like 1.0 has a couple of things that are really useful, like there's a glitch called Pocket Rocket, which is it kind of like it gives you infinite uses of a rocket shield. You can kind of just fly with that.
Yeah, that trick looks great.
And so on 1.0, you can get into a state where you have just infinite uses. And it only deals durability to your shield. But like, you don't have to worry about the rocket running out. On 1.1, that doesn't work. And so there's like this trade-off, and I think that's pretty interesting.
It really causes you, like, I guess in Breath of the Wild, like they fixed very little, if not nothing, of like the big tricks, like you said earlier. I have to imagine that the reason they decided to release a patch fixing things for Tears of the Kingdom was largely because of duping. Just because it was so accessible. Also, P5 is using Amiibo here, just like in Breath of the Wild. If you've seen any of those Amiibo runs, he's looking for very specific stuff. In this case, Fleet Lotus Seeds, which he will also be duping. There's another wing drop here. This one with a shield jump, though. And then he'll be duping both the Bomb Flowers and the Fleet Lotus Seeds here. You'll notice, as opposed to the Zonai devices, he actually has to like jump in midair in order to do this, which trying to do it while flying on this wing makes it kind of interesting because they can just fly all over the place.
Yeah, duplicating materials on a wing is a little bit... It's like... I do it a lot, but I'm still worried every time I try.
That the Fleet Lotus will just fly away, the one that you have.
Yeah. And it does happen. Okay, so right here, there's a couple of things that might seem weird about the route that I am following. One is we actually get the battery. You don't actually use the battery at all, right? We're not building anything in this run, but the game doesn't let you leave the Great Sky Island without the battery. It'll just give it to you if you haven't gotten it by like the second shrine, I think. Either that or it's specifically fused, but basically if I don't grab it there, then once I complete this shrine, a construct will come and give me the battery. And that comes with a cutscene that's like longer than the one of me grabbing it at the like river. And so there's that. And then also that cave is very important because it gives us a ruby. That ore deposit is guaranteed to drop a ruby. And if you've never tried, using rubies and like other gems is super fun in this game because they explode. And it's a very large explosion. And so that'll be super useful for damage later on in the run. And because we have, you know, pretty easy duplication glitches, it is definitely worth it to take a detour to go grab the ruby. Okay. Here we dupe like a couple bomb flowers, which bomb flowers are pretty useful.
The second I found out about bomb shield jumping and like shield rockets, that's when I got excited for this speedrun. Like that was the moment where I was like, oh, this will be really good. And I feel like that jump you just did is exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, it's quite nice. And this next section of movement is even better. We have a trick called, I think people just call it wing bomb, which is, you know, to sound like wind bomb, but yeah, you just drop a wing after a bomb jump and then go, yeah, pretty far, pretty fast.
The routing and movement on these wings is so interesting to me. Like, that's so sick.
right. I'm gonna be a bit low. That's fine. Okay. Oh, but yeah, we're going to the Ultra Hand Shrine, so right there. If you go underneath and ascend, then you can get there pretty quickly. But the ascend cutscene is really long. So there's a different route you can take from fuse to Ultra Hand that goes like above GSI. You just do a bunch of bomb jumps, and then you can avoid that ascend cutscene, and it's only a couple seconds slower. Is what I used to do.
GSI is Great Sky Island for those not in the know of the nomenclature.
Oh yeah, I used a wing to my shield, which makes my shield jumps go higher. And now we can do Ultra Hand without Ultra Hand. You'll see that, well, we don't really use that many of the abilities too much. But Ultra Hand specifically only gets used once. And it's not in the shrine that you get it.
It is very different than how Breath of the Wild any percent looked for a long time, which was like you get the rune in the shrine and then use it to traverse the shrine. Whereas like here, you don't exactly have to, which is interesting. I mean, now you can wind bomb across most of the things in Breath of the Wild plateau shrines, but you know.
Right there I was supposed to drop a wing, but I got too close to the edge, and so the wing just did not drop. But yeah. Another thing about this game is at the Great Sky Island, you have to like backtrack a bunch because they force you to do like 3 visits to the Temple of Time. One at the start, then you do 3 shrines, then you visit Temple of Time again to open the door, you get recall, and then you go to the recall shrine, and then you come back one final time. And so far, there hasn't been a way to sequence break.
Do you foresee any... Like, I mean, I don't know, there's already quite a few skips in this game, but do you foresee anything else being necessary, or do you desire any other skips, or like what is sort of your methodology or belief on that?
So Breath of the Wild, I think is, you know, you can look at Breath of the Wild speedruns and kind of use that as a reference point, and Great Plateau did not see any. Basically, it was just skip the tower by clipping into shrines, but in terms of actually skipping Great Plateau, nobody was able to find anything. And I think that'll be similar to GSI for Tears of the Kingdom. They definitely spent some effort into preventing people from doing things out of order. People are working on something to potentially skip the Great Sky Island. I believe what you can do is, like, there's a void out plane. So if you jump off of the Great Sky Island, then it will void you out, place you back on it. But if you are like, if you have a dialogue like box open, Link can actually fall while moving, or like he's falling while the text box is open.
This is the most Ocarina of Time trick that you're explaining right now.
But yeah, basically you can try and use that to fall through the void out plane. So people like tried doing that. Problem is, like, Breath of the Wild, even if you could prevent the game from voiding out, or like if you could make it off of the Great Plateau without voiding out, the game is constantly checking whether or not you have the paraglider. Like, it really doesn't want you to be off of plateau without it. And so this game is somewhat similar. There are, like, I think certain areas of the map that you can go to. And so yeah, there's like theoretical Great Sky Island skips, but yeah, it'll be a while before any of that happens, if at all.
How would you feel about that?
I think the Great Sky Island is a really cool part of the run, and it's actually most of the run.
Right.
So this category is like, what, 44 minutes, 30 of which are on the Great Sky Island. So I don't know, it'd make it pretty short. And then even more of the run is just unskippable cutscene. So I'd probably say that I wouldn't want the Great Sky Island skip.
I think that's often a surprising thing for people who like casually consume speedrunning content, when like a top level runner is like, yeah, I don't want that skip to happen, because it either skips the part of the run that's fun, or skips too much meaningful stuff in the run, or maybe it'll just be harder and annoying. Like, there's a myriad of reasons why people would want the status quo to remain as is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like in speedruns, obviously there's this overall goal of beating the game as fast as it can be beaten. But as a speedrunner competing for like the fastest time, saving time because of a new route is different from saving time based off of like just optimizing your run and getting better.
Yes.
And so even if there's like a new route really means that you have to learn new tricks, and you know, you're not necessarily better at the game. You just have like new tools to use. And so it kind of depends on, I guess, your outlook.
I love how, because Speed Food doesn't increment in pauses or cutscenes or anything like that, or load screens, it was like a 4-minute Speed Food, but it has covered the last like 15 or 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I think if you have a 10-minute Speed Food, which is a crit cook, oh man. I've missed like every single loop here. You can almost make it all the way to the end of the game. Oh, there's just no way. I'm like losing rubies. Okay, I think this has been the worst. Ruby duping I've ever done. Yeah, I'm just gonna dupe a couple more right here. There we go.
How does that fall damage cancel work?
Okay, so basically,
I'll let you do this first.
oh yeah, I'll oh, just kidding, that worked. Yeah, the fall damage cancel works by using an animation cancel on Link's jump slash. What you do is you fall close to the ground, and then you do a jump slash, but you open up the rune menu and then swap shields. And what that does is it cancels whatever animation Link was in. So in this case, the jump slash. And because the jump slash like moves you up a little bit, you can use that and then like enter the dive state while you're still moving up from the jump slash, and that will confuse the game to thinking that that's where you started the fall.
I know you didn't just game gets confused me. I know you didn't just do that.
You can pretend. It's okay.
Okay. Also, obviously, use out of bounds again to skip the entire descent sequence from below Hyrule Castle. How he clipped out of bounds? That's a great question. When he's done with the army, maybe he'll tell us.
Yeah, so that's called a jump slash cancel clip, which it's basically the same thing.
Okay, that's what I thought. Like, it looked like the similar principle to the fall damage cancel.
Yeah, so you're canceling the jump slash, and you can use that to get infinite height. You just need to enter bullet time, and then you repeatedly jump slash. And if you do it next to a ceiling, then you can clip through.
When I got to this part in the game casually, I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck to have to do in the speedrun. Turns out, it's actually pretty sick.
Yeah. It's, this is the power of rubies. So if you haven't played around with them before, they're very fun. Yeah, we dupe like 25-ish. There are a lot of enemies. Also, something I'm doing during that phase, during the army, is I'm using recoil after throwing a ruby, which cancels the throw animation so you can throw rubies faster. Right here, normally you would fight Colgera and then all the other bosses that you didn't fight in the temples. However, all right, the run is actually dead.
Yeah, you can't get back in bounds, right?
Yeah, I don't have a shield. Okay, well, we can start that again.
Let's take our first break here.
Sounds good.
And then we'll do the next run after the break. Gamers, don't go anywhere. Stick around. We're gonna have more attempts at Tears of the Kingdom any %, fewer broken shields, more completed runs. We will see. Player 5 is. Do you have the world record right now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so these are world's records attempts. Okay, so get pogged. Gamers, stick around. We'll be right back with more PB Precipice in just a moment. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. This is PB Precipice. We got Player 5 showing off world record attempts for 1.0 Tears of the Kingdom any %. Quick announcement really fast. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. P5, take it away. Get some runs going whenever you're ready.
All right. I guess
And
we'll
also, if you
jump
wouldn't mind
back into it.
reminding people what 1.0 is and what's going on, I think that would be wise.
All right. Version 1.0 is the original version of the game, which, there's been updates. There's been like 4 updates so far, but most of them have been like bug fixes. So, they've been patching out lots of the glitches that have been found, of which there are many. And so for speedruns, we don't really know when they're going to stop patching. And the run is going to be faster on older versions because you have access to these glitches that they got rid of. And so version 1.0 is currently the fastest because we have a lot of glitches that are not available on version 1.2, which is the current version of the game. So the leaderboard is split based on version number. So lots of people stick with the 1.0 speedrun because, well, not only is it faster, but you can also do, right, like you're not at risk of Nintendo patching out the glitches that were used in your speedrun, which is always nice. So one of the things that got fixed is that clip right there. It only seems to work on version 1.0 of the game. Nobody's been able to recreate it on later versions. And going out of bounds in the intro saves like a minute because you can skip a bunch of cutscenes. And that's part of why version 1.0 is the fastest version. There are a couple of other things, but that's one of the big ones.
Something that I think would be neat in Super Mario Odyssey, an earlier patch was fastest, just like this game, for quite some time. And it was kind of a state of division in the community a little bit because it was annoying that like they didn't bifurcate the leaderboard. And the faster version was harder to get. Like it was inaccessible. Just like this game. But eventually Nintendo released like a 1.3 patch or something that had the load times became so fast that it was faster than the stuff that the original patch saved. And I just think that is so fascinating.
Yeah. I heard about that because of discussions of Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, they're Odyssey runners and people who just knew about the Odyssey situation. And so that was brought up. Because it's like they stopped making 1.0 cartridges. Because the physical version of the game is gonna be, you know, it doesn't have the update data when they sell it to you. But eventually, I think they stopped producing the 1.0 cartridges. Like, they just give you the updated version.
What is that?
And so, yeah, it can be harder to get.
Yeah, there definitely becomes a question of like inaccessibility for speedrunning. Like, how accessible do you make it?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the hope is that enough time passes and then the current patch is now like stable. They stop updating things. And then maybe, if we're lucky, current patch will actually be the fastest. I feel like it's pretty unlikely, given how much like version 1.0 has. One thing that could help a lot is if they let you skip this cutscene in an update, but very unlikely.
Maybe in a master mode update? Question mark.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they would just make you watch it again, but
Yeah, I think
Who
it's
knows?
very unlikely. If they chose not to make it skippable here, I feel like they're never gonna.
Carries that fragile sword.
if you're playing master mode, probably play through all of normal mode first, so you've forgotten this lovely cutscene.
Right. It was so long ago.
No, our names.
You need to be refreshed. Is it... Am I imagining things, or it's been a minute since an update for the game has come out?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, I think. Version 1.2. I don't remember when that happened, but it has been a couple weeks. And I feel like that's what happened between version 1.1.2 and version 1.2. It was like, there was a little bit of time where, you know, no updates. People were wondering, like, they were getting like used to the 1.1.2 speedruns. And then they patched a lot.
Well, hopefully Nintendo chills out. It really is dumb. Like, fixing some things I totally understand, like performance issues or glaring bugs that can exist in casual play, but like, come on.
Yeah, the duplication. So in like this game, yeah, duplication is way too easy. So yeah, I can see why they fixed that, but there are some glitches that you would never run into. I mean, even the duplication glitches, like, you still probably wouldn't run into.
Like, I don't know. I've been speedrunning for a long time. I've been glitch hunting for a long time. And I have a ton of hours in Breath of the Wild, and I did not discover duping in my casual playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know. I think there is a rationale for, like, sometimes certain things, like certain glitches are actually just side effects of a larger problem that they actually do need to fix. And we just don't know that. And I think that is a legitimate cause for fixes sometimes, but, you know, not always.
Here we go. now we can play the rest of the game. But yeah, that cog skip, very, very hard trick. And I think each time I mess it up, it loses like somewhere around 7 seconds. And so we're kind of getting to the point where, mess that up once and pretty bad. Like second try is fine, but you're gonna have to play it like way better for the rest of it.
Staying awake?
Yeah.
Me too, somehow. It's early.
It
Well,
is-
it's not early anymore, but it was early when we woke up.
It is quite a bit earlier than I'm used to waking up.
Yeah, what's your schedule? Because you stream pretty late these days.
Yeah. So I normally wake up at like, I don't know, 2 to 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a student still, or?
No, I graduated in December.
Congratulations.
So it's almost been a year, I guess.
Yeah. Are you just streaming full time right now, or do you have a job as well?
I'm streaming full time.
Nice. Gamers, did you hear that? There's a full-time Zelda streamer on your screen, and you can follow him, and he streams all the time, and the runs are very entertaining, and his voice is very soothing, and the gameplay is very good. This is a great ad. Go to twitch.tv/player5 and follow. If we could get a shout out in chat, that would be huge. But if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can find his link in the description, assuming all worked. But yeah, great stream. Do you think you'll ever return to Breath of the Wild?
Yeah. Eventually. And I think, so I'll probably do some like Breath of the Wild plus Tears of the Kingdom stuff.
Right, some back-to-back.
Yeah. And so that's probably when I'm gonna go back to Breath of the Wild speedruns in the near future. But I am pretty happy with how I left off my PBs in that game, especially like any percent. I managed to get a PB like a week probably before Tears of the Kingdom came out. Maybe a little under that.
Do you think you'd go back to any percent specifically?
Yeah.
You're
Probably
still
like
not
any
done.
percent,
Still
maybe
not
old dungeons.
finished.
Oh, you're never really finished, right?
I guess so. That's that fighting spirit.
I mean, like, look at what Mario. You got Niftsky.
Yeah.
Still
So grinding. Until
And
you're
I
at the
do
human
think-
limit, there's time to save.
Exactly. Especially with something like Breath of the Wild. Like, yeah, it's my run's good, but it can be a lot better. And when I say a lot, I mean like 15 seconds maybe.
I mean, to be fair, though, in like a 23, 24-minute run, 15 seconds is pretty sizable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what,
But yeah.
4% or something of the run?
It's a really like that run has a really good end game, but like the beginning wasn't that good.
It's always so fascinating to me that, like, obviously, as you get better at anything, but we'll focus on speedrunning specifically, your criteria for what is good is constantly changing. Because, like, for me, somebody who likes speedrunning Breath of the Wild isn't particularly great, but, like, I'm better than average to fine, I think. Seeing P5's any percent run, I'm like, oh, this is absolutely goated. Like, this is incredible. But P5, meanwhile, is like, yeah, it was pretty good, I guess. And it really is just, like, a matter of perspective. Like, you know, he knows what he's capable of. You know what time save there is, and you know that you're capable of it. And also, I think there is a non-zero amount of, and not to sound like a boomer here, but you are newer to speedrunning than perhaps some others who are burned out on the sport.
Right.
And so you still have the fervor, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get burnt out speedrunning. But yeah, so far, still doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely full-time streaming accelerates the process a little bit. But, I mean, when did you start speedrunning? Like 3-4 years ago?
3 years ago at this point.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. You'll be just fine. I've been speedrunning since 2012. And only in the last, like, 2 years have I been like, yeah, I don't really want to speedrun much anymore. But I still do. Like, every once in a while, I'll get the itch to do something, and I'll dedicate some time to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll ever really completely leave me.
One thing in this shrine that a lot of people don't realize is that it is actually on a cycle. You can't really save or lose time to this last platform. I'll get like a lot of questions asking like, oh, could you use the flame emitter to burn the ropes? Drop the like bridge down. And while you can, ropes do burn slowly. So it wouldn't be faster than cutting them. But also, it doesn't help you get to the platform while it's like at an early cycle. So like it needs to pass underneath that other spot to ascend to the end of it. So you'd have to wait anyway. But this is the
Imagine a
cutscene.
bus. That's it. Keep going. I said, imagine a bus. That's all I said.
Okay, now I am.
You don't know the reference, really?
I don't.
Oh my god, you are a baby in speedrunning. The Super Mario Brothers 1 speedrunner Darbian. Do you know Darbian?
I don't.
Oh my god.
I'm showing my youth.
Zoomer. The Zoomer. Darbian was the world record holder a couple of times in Mario. A couple of years ago. And he still speedruns stuff every once in a while. Great guy. He would always get questions about frame rules in his stream. And you know what the frame rule is, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, because you know Nifski's. You probably know what a frame rule is. When asked about frame rules, Darbian would say, imagine a bus that has a regular bus schedule. And it only picks you up every third of a second. So if you get there early or late, you're going to be waiting for a bus. Basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I was saying about the cycle in the Ascent Shrine is imagine a bus.
That makes sense.
This duping on this wing looks horrible.
It is. Okay, that was actually not bad. That time, but yeah, it's annoying. Because like with rubies, it's fine. They don't bounce as much. But yeah, the fleet load of seeds are very bouncy. You also have like the flame emitter shield, which isn't too big of a deal. But yeah, if you were to like not dismount the shield early enough, you would kind of just ragdoll off of the wing. So right here, you gotta cook speed food. This is why we get the fleet load of seeds. But you can't cook by a like a cooking pot unless there are no enemies nearby. And something that's a little unfortunate is that the keys. So we kill the constructs that are like right next to it with a ruby, but the keys are actually like a problem because they will follow you out of the cave, but like not actually follow you once you're out of the cave. And so they're still like aggroed, and so you can't cook sometimes because the game still thinks that the keys are like chasing you and you have to wait. So right there, I couldn't cook for a bit. So you can kill the keys, but I usually don't because I'm just hoping that things work out and I can just cook immediately. And technically that would be faster. In practice, I think keeping an extra ruby to deal with the keys is probably more consistent.
It's an interesting strat to leave one of them on the ground so that you can easily fuse it.
Yeah.
Also, I love fusing it before opening the chest just because you're terrified that if you press A, you're going to pick it up.
That does happen. Okay, well, this split was okay. I'd say not great. My duplication has been a little off. But we're only losing like 10 seconds. Oh, maybe 15.
Those bomb jumps into wing drops look nice.
They are, and they're not actually that hard to do. Especially, like, you can chain them together. So it can be quite
like you're
fun.
about to see.
Like, yeah. So, I think this one's a little bit higher than last time. Still a little... No, okay, that's... just kidding. That was a little bit low. Yeah, because the like bottom of that is like a spike. And so the higher up the wing hits the thing, the further forward you have to stand on the wing to be able to ascend. And so if you're like lower down, you want to stand back on the wing to account for that. And yeah, getting the ascend there is pretty consistent. It's just that like certain spots, it's kind of finicky. And if you fail to get the ascend, then the game will not let you immediately ascend again for a little bit. You're like locked out of it. And because you're on a wing that's about to fall, that's not great. Well, best possible time, no longer sub 44.
Sad. It's pretty
it's
tight.
like-
I mean, you're getting closer to your summer best.
Yeah. It's like 44:07 is the current best possible time, which is, you know, my current run and then add on my best segments ever for the rest of it. And yeah, 44:07 where my PB is 44:14.
Means you'd have to play like near perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, the game it hasn't been out that long, but like Breath of the Wild, I ended up playing like 30 seconds off of Summer Best, which is about the same as Tears of the Kingdom, even though they're like it's a slightly longer game, but. Partially that's just because it's new, so my splits aren't super optimized, but
I feel like partially it's also the Breath of the Wild tricks are so nuts. Like there's at this point there's so much going on so quickly.
I think there's more variance. Because like for the most part, Tears of the Kingdom it's a lot of basic movement. And then a couple of like, yeah, out of bounds clips, but each split should be really consistent. Compared to Breath of the Wild, like you do a wind bomb to get to the end of the shrine, and then does that wind bomb go straight to the end, or do you land like a little bit away? And do you get a ragdoll cancel? If you get the ragdoll cancel, it saves a lot of time, but like nobody can do that consistently. right there. A small optimization is that instead of opening the map immediately, you open the inventory or jump before opening the map. Because Link has a little cutscene of taking out the pro pad for the first time that we're trying to avoid.
E5, what's your going rate? What could I pay you to tutor me in 1.2? What's the tutorial rate?
I don't know. Sounds fun.
Sit down one night, make some mistakes.
Yeah.
I feel like I could pick it up relatively quickly.
It's not too bad. I think as a run, like picking up Breath of the Wild speedruns is hard because the hardest part of picking up a Breath of the Wild speedrun is the boss rush at the end.
Yeah, I would agree with
And
that.
so-
That and probably skew was hard for me at first.
Right, yeah. Things have gotten easier in that regard. I feel like there's like good resources and the clips are easier. I feel like the skew setups are just better.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten better over the years. And I mean, when I learned Breath of the Wild, it was still just BTBs everywhere. And that is so much harder than blissing. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah. But yeah, this game doesn't have boss rush in the same way because I failed to do it last attempt, but you can actually skip it. I was in the process, but my shield broke. Hopefully it doesn't do this time. But yeah, basically, since you can skip all of that, and the army is just throwing rubies. Ganondorf, I mean, you get to retry. If you die,
Oh, really?
yeah. It's like how Dark Beast, once you
Yeah.
get to a certain point, it like, kind of gives you an autosave, even though it's not actually a save, a checkpoint. So you
That's
can just
so
refight
nice.
Ganondorf.
The Ganondorf fight doesn't look terrible. It looks easier than Calamity.
Yeah. So it's basically just learning flurry rushes. And they're not too bad. I think the first run I did, this was probably like a month after the game came out. We were still fighting the bosses, and then doing Ganondorf after.
Yeah.
I think I died like 9 times in a row. But the thing is, like, I just didn't practice. If you practice, the flurry rushes aren't bad. All right. So let's just not lose another 3 seconds. Do some best, and then
Yeah, easy.
I have to dupe that. Yeah, there's a strat later that I need 2 wings for.
What's your
All
target
right.
ruby count?
25. I think technically with the way I'm doing the army right now, you could probably get away with like 23. But I usually go for 25 just to be safe. And during the break, I'll admit I did practice the ruby duping.
Nothing wrong with that.
Because that was actually the worst like ruby duping I've ever done, I think. And right there, I don't think I missed a dupe. But yeah, jump / cancel clip. The reason we do it there, basically you can clip through a lot of ceilings. But in this case, the final area of the game is in the depths. This well just so happens to connect to the depths and dive all the way down. Something I didn't go over last time, but is this clip back in bounds. All right, so in this game, in Breath of the Wild, walls work both directions. So if you're out of bounds, you actually have to clip back in. This is a ragdoll clip where I pray that Link falls through the floor or the ceiling, I guess. Because, yeah, you just ragdoll. But you have to do a fall damage cancel right above it so that you don't just die from fall damage. And then Link will ragdoll, and in his ragdoll state, can actually clip through, like, walls.
Using the fuse materials from the enemies in the army is so smart.
Yeah. Like, they drop a bunch of stuff. So even if you don't have, like, Zuggle, which I'll be doing later, for lots of, it's like big damage. Even without that, like, you can kind of just pick up weapons and fuse materials here. What? This guy didn't die. Oops. But yeah, the goal here is to just pick up 2 royal halberds and few strong fuse materials. Ideally, the black boss bokoblin horn and the black Lizalfos horn, because that greatly increases our damage output. Okay. Oh, this split was going so well. Okay.
You're in.
Yeah, so what that does is skips the door that's blocking you from entering this final area. But the thing is, it's like, oh, why not just clip immediately once you enter army? The reason is that the game actually has a flag to check for whether or not you completed the army. But it doesn't have that for the rest of them, the boss rush.
Probably because of all dungeons, like, because some of those bosses are skippable variably depending on which dungeons you did.
So yeah, you have to kill the army and then flip through 2 ceilings, get to Ganondorf. And I just did a Zuggle, which is glitch to smuggle weapons onto Link's hand. So I'm effectively attacking with 5 spears at once. Yeah, he basically has like 5 of these royal halberds stuck to his hand. And royal weapons have the improved flurry rush like ability, and so if you're flurry rushing, they deal double damage. Combine that, and it's just 1 cycle each phase. It's pretty nice. Which on 1.2 is different. You don't have Zuggle, so the Ganondorf fight is a little bit harder.
Yeah, that looks easy on 1.0.
All right, well, not too bad. Yeah, those clips can be pretty tricky to get first try. But, you know, the game's not easy.
No.
And speaking of not easy, we get to the hardest part of the game. Just right at the end. Because unlike Dark Beast, they decided to make the fight actually like cool. And part of that means that it is able to be optimized. Which I kind of miss. I kind of miss Dark Beast a little bit.
The easy final fight.
Yeah. But what I'm going to be trying to go for is a 2 cycle on Demon Dragon, because there are these eyeballs that you have to like destroy, and normally you would only destroy 1 each time you land on Demon Dragon, but here you can do 2 per, because like Demon Dragon will start like moving around after a while, and while he's moving, you can't stand on him. Yeah, this is something ZFG came up with, and it's incredibly difficult. Okay. Drop the Zuggled weapons, because for some reason Zuggle makes the damage you deal to Demon Dragon inconsistent. It's like the Master Sword has a big multiplier on how much damage it deals to this guy. But that's not true for other weapons, so you end up dealing less damage with the Zuggled weapon because it like doesn't hit with the Master Sword hitbox some of the time. And so you drop the Zuggled weapons because you'd rather have, you know, consistent damage than a chance for a slightly faster kill on these eyeballs. We're also doing the whole run without paraglider. Which is, I guess, it's easy to gloss over that nowadays, but yeah, it was quite a cool development. Okay, so this is actually a strat that I found on accident right here. Do this. Hopefully it works.
What are these inputs for this backwards jump slash thing?
It's RBY. There we are. Oh. Oh, that was really fast. I'm kind of sad I messed that up a little bit.
You think it was gold potential?
Yeah. I think it might still gold, but essentially that last hit that you do before it goes into this like cinematic final hit is it's important that you do it while you're in the air, because for some reason on version 1.0 of the game, standing on the dragon's head while you're doing that hit will result in a black screen for 8 seconds. Like it's loading something in and it's having trouble. But that doesn't happen if you're in the air. So doing a blade beam is actually optimal. Well, technically a backflip is faster, but the backflip is really hard to hit because you're like hitting the thing and then trying to get a jump input right after you've done the final hit. So oh, that was actually not as fast as I thought it would.
GG though. A finished run. I mean, that's not nothing.
That is not nothing. It's true. And it, you know, under a minute off of my PB.
It's pretty good. And there's still an hour left to burn here.
An hour left.
We still have time. We could take our second break here, and then do our last stretch of attempts if that works for you.
That sounds good.
Okay, gamers, stick around. We will be back with more world record and PB attempts with Player 5 and Tears of the Kingdom in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. My name is Adef, and this is PB Precipice. We've got Player 5 showing off some Tears of the Kingdom any % world record attempts. We just had a finished run a little bit ago that just came in about a minute over, which is pretty close. P5 is currently practicing the cog skip. But P5, whenever you're ready to get the show back on the road, it's up to you. Feel free to practice a little bit, whatever you feel you need.
All right. Well, basically, I just want to point out, we're jumping from there to there.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is why it's so hard.
Is that kind of thing possible in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, so it uses the same kind of mechanic as Breath of the Wild, where if you like turn around, like you throw aim face backwards, you carry your momentum a lot better. And so if you do like a running jump, throw aim to turn around, and then jump attack, you will go pretty far in Breath of the Wild. It wasn't really that useful because we had better movement options, but it's seen a couple of uses in Tears of the Kingdom. And that's why we have to do the like repeated jump slashes. You have to do that backwards because you carry your momentum better.
How are you feeling about your play today?
Overall, I think it's okay. There's definitely duplication has been a problem. As easy as the glitch is to perform, doing it every single time without messing up proves to be fairly difficult. Like sometimes you just you don't have it. But other than that, yeah, it's like okay. Could be doing better, but I think the clips have been pretty decent.
Yeah, what's the big bottleneck in the run for you right now? Like, what's the thing that scares you?
Is whether or not I can get this first part. Like the combination of clipping out of bounds and then getting cog skip first try. Because like that doesn't happen that often in a stream. And yeah, just trying to like PB once you get the opportunity. Just not make more mistakes than that.
When the gods give you the chance. What is the reason that the ceiling clip here is so difficult? Is it just incredibly precise?
It's just really precise. Basically, you're trying to find that like little crack in the wall that you can actually just get through.
Have you considered using the double tap home screen zoom in feature?
Oh, people have, I think. I myself haven't looked into it.
It's also not lost on me, and I'm sure it's commented on in streams all the time, how funny it is that both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have an annoying OOB clip. Well, the Breath of the Wild one gets really easy with time, but like Shrine of Resurrection clip and this right in the first 30 seconds, like, it's so dumb.
Yeah. It's a nice way to start off a speedrun, though. People will,
It's definitely attention grabbing.
Yeah. And you know, better that it's here, I guess, than later.
Yeah. There is that trade-off, right, of like, if it were at minute 40, you might be fine with getting it fourth try. But because it's in minute 1, you just want first try every time.
What is
Yeah.
that?
then like eventually you're gonna want to first try anyway.
It's always an annoying when do I reset trade-off.
That was a good start. We're bringing out my my practice switch. I have thought about it, and like one of the things is I'd have to like have a separate controller for it. 2 Pro controllers, but I don't know if I have a second one that's like
You know what you
as
could
good.
do is instead of that, I believe the Switch auto detects a controller if you plug it in via USB.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 2 USBs just dangling off your desk, one for each Switch, and then just unplug and replug quickly during the cutscene.
But does it bring up that screen to like choose what controller you're using?
Oh, does it? I don't remember.
Carries that fragile sword.
You could just practice on Joy-Cons.
The first time, okay, I was like laying in bed and I decided, I think this was like the first time I wanted to practice 1.2. But I was like, okay, let me start up a file. But I don't want to get out of bed to go play on on docked. So we'll just play it handheld. And I got cog skip first try.
On casual playthroughs in Breath of the Wild, after I had started speedrunning the game, I'd just play undocked. And in handheld mode, it just felt weird to do like everything. Everything feels weird.
Yeah. It's like BLSS with Joy-Cons just does not feel right.
No. I hate throw sprinting on Joy-Cons. The tiny, tiny R trigger.
Some people prefer Joy-Cons because they're like small. So you can like, for whistle sprinting, you can just like reach over with your other hand to hold whistle. Or something like that. I don't really get it. I think Joy-Cons are just not as good.
No, they're bad. Buttons bad, Joy-Con drift. Ugh.
The one
I will say the D-pad.
I was
Yeah,
I was about to
the
say.
D-pad is so much better on the Joy-Cons. It's
Just
not
give me buttons.
It's not even close. Oh my god, the amount of times that I lost so much time in Breath of the Wild because I'd press up on the D-pad and it would register left or right. I hate that.
Do you ever consider doing a D-pad fix?
Please explain.
So the reason the D-pad is bad is because it is way too sensitive, right? You press left, but if you're, giving it any sort of up, kind of like motion, then it'll give you an up input. But you can open up the controller and stick like a small piece of paper or tape underneath the D-pad to make
in
it
between
less
the
sensitive.
contacts?
Yeah. And then that's enough. Like you can have it be thin enough that it won't. Oh wow. It won't interfere with your like actual gameplay button presses. It'll just make it work.
Kind of sick. Did this work?
Yeah.
You've done this?
Yeah, it's essentially mandatory at this point because
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
it's so bad. Otherwise.
When are we gonna get to the point that we're putting snapback capacitors in for Bliss?
Snapback is something I still I did struggle with.
There are moments where it can be really annoying.
Yeah. In Breath of the Wild,
Oh my god,
There
when
are
you sometimes
spots.
when you're like using the joystick to like switch runes, and you the amount of times I've died in wind bombs because I really quickly menu to square bomb or circle and then it goes back and then I let go and detonate and kill myself.
yep. Like that, fall damage cancels.
Oh yeah, trying to
just-
unequip and you re-equip.
You die. That's it.
It always leads to death.
In this game, I feel like snapback isn't as bad. Although technically, yeah, you can still run into the same thing with fall damage cancels. Because you still have to do that, like, shield swap. But the menuing in this game is like, there's a little delay that they put. And so you can't go fast with the menuing anyway.
Yeah, that was one complaint I actually had when I played the game casually, was like the menu felt slow.
Mhm.
It felt clunky. I would imagine it's to try to fix something or avoid certain problems that Breath of the Wild had, but like, I didn't love it.
Yeah. Also, there's this funny 1.0 thing where they built snapback into the game. Presumably it was unintentional and they fixed it in a later version, but on 1.0, even if you basically if you try to do the menuing too early, it will just snap back, even if you hold the right stick. Which
Never
like
forget
it doesn't
never forget what they took from us.
exactly. In Breath of the Wild, I have a feeling going back to that run, it's gonna be interesting. But I have a feeling the menuing is gonna be one of the nicer things.
It's gonna feel like taking your Rock Lee taking the training weights off.
Exactly.
Unencumbered.
Well, this is a pretty good start.
Yeah, I mean, everything has been pretty smooth so far.
The number of times I've accidentally just touched the floor there. It's too many. Like, realistically, doing a jump slash to guarantee that you don't accidentally touch the ground early doesn't cost that much time. But I just don't do it because technically it's faster. And then
Right.
you reset because you can't really come back from that.
How much time does it save?
So
I guess
this
it's just would
route-
change the route drastically.
yeah. But essentially the early wings route saves like 3 minutes, I think. 'Cause if you aren't doing the wing over to the bottomless cave, then you have to run all the way through the cold area. You have to cook cold food and then go across the river boat and then climb up. And yeah, it's really slow. And it's kind of funny because early wings, when it first was a thing with the like cog jumping, it was like, oh man, this is gonna be so hard. Like, are you really gonna be able to do that with the intro? And then it turns out, yes. You just have to practice it. And then there was like a harder version with the cog skip. Like it's even harder, but yeah, this game has had a lot of development. And it has slowed down. It's been
That's just
pretty
sort
nice.
of the natural flow of things. Like the initial period of discovery is so deep and vast, and then things slow down nicely. But, you know, there's bound... If every Zelda speedrun before this one is any indication, there's bound to be lots of discovery still ahead.
Yeah. And I don't know, I kind of hope there's some like some new movement tech that is somehow as fun as wind bombs. I don't know what it would be, but
I think you may have to continue dreaming on that one. That wind bombs are just such a perfect storm.
oh, well, surely there'll be something.
Like a bomb flower shield jump into rocket fuse. I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I think if something were to happen, it would certainly involve bombs and rockets to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few things already with bombs and rockets, so why not a few more?
That's the spirit.
Well, now it's time to see if this could be a run or not.
Yeah, I would say this is probably the last split in which you could reset. But if you want to just finish this one out, that's also fine, time-wise.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll see if I get the right scans.
You know how Master Mode in Breath of the Wild added a motorcycle?
Yeah.
What if Master Mode in this game adds like a jet?
I mean, that would be... Is it like different from a jet that you could make in the game?
Yeah, like it's faster, more control. It feels like driving the motorcycle.
That'd be cool. Oh. I feel like it's less revolutionary though.
Well, I mean, the motorcycle is really just a faster horse.
Okay, but I just lost a bomb. That's not how that's supposed to work. I am just losing bombs. Okay, I don't know why that happened. I'm assuming that's just wind RNG or something. Because sometimes the... Yeah. Yeah, that's not great. What? That didn't do... Wow. That's a first. I think. Basically, I want to say that if you get unlucky with how the wind is blowing, then the items will like have a easier time flying off of the wing. Like it's really hard to pick them up before they are gone. So right there, I just... Not only could I not get the dupe input, but the things were like flying off the side.
It's interesting how, like, sometimes there are just days where a certain trick is just hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 321. Yeah, so I lost like 20 seconds. Well, it is what it is.
Just gonna finish it out.
Yeah.
See what we can do. Gamers, this is a reminder to follow Player5 on Twitch, twitch.tv/Player5. Been grinding Tears of the Kingdom pretty religiously over the past couple weeks. So, definitely worth a follow.
Yeah, hopefully that's the right number. Yeah, usually I dupe one bomb before entering the shrine because it gives me the right number. Fine. But yeah, basically, like you have the right number so that you can, or you only need to dupe 2 inside of the shrine. So I usually just dupe one on the wing over to constructs, but in this case, that did not quite work out. Yeah, that is that is rough. But you know, 4407 best possible time. We've been here before.
Yeah, that for easy, okay? The number, all I see is a number that is lower than the number at the bottom of the splits. And that is literally all that matters.
Exactly. And once that number is over the number at the bottom, then you have to reset.
Yep, you have to, legally. There's no other way.
contract you sign. Start
Yeah.
speedrunning.
Red number, reset. Green number, good chemicals.
There we go. So that is the perfect height. You just stand in the middle of the wing. You feel like I've been like finishing runs more often?
Like
Like
recently?
recently. Continue runs that, aren't necessarily first try on every trick.
Do you think that's been overall better for your consistency or worse?
Probably better.
I think there is something to be said for like finishing runs is the best form of practice. Like the more often you find yourself in situations in the late game in an actual run rather than just practice, I think is better for your consistency. Once you get a good run going, probably.
Yeah. And like you can bring it back.
Yeah, and that's honestly a fun, like, the nerves are lower. Like, there's, like, no nerves in a run that's bad that you end up bringing back, and you're like, oh, what? I still PB'd? I think it's also a great exemplification of, like, splits are so arbitrary. I think about this a lot. Like, they mean nothing. Like, they are good data points, and they do help, and they can give you a benchmark of where you're at, but like ultimately they are a very arbitrary assignment of what's going on. Like you picked a random time in the run to be like, yeah, this is a segment. Whereas like in reality, the red splits might mean nothing if you just play better. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is ultimately the only split that really matters is the very beginning and the very end. So just do no resets, 5 head. Duh.
Exactly. Just never reset.
You'll get it eventually.
That is true. I feel like since I started streaming, I've been doing less like individual segment practice.
Yeah.
I end up just like doing runs as my practice.
I think that is a natural evolution for a lot of speedrunners, especially as content creators, yeah. At a certain point, I think individual segment practice is unbelievably important. There's just no way to get really, really good if you're not grinding the individual segments as hard as you can. But once you have all the tricks down, like, it might be more important to get the glue of an entire run.
Right.
Are you the type of person that, let's say you miss a difficult trick, are you more likely to just go for it again? Or are you more likely to go for, like, an easier backup that's more consistent to just get the trick done?
Like in a run.
Yeah.
I'll probably, well, it depends on.
I mean,
the
this is a
trick.
very subjective question, obviously. Like, what's the trick? How much time? But, you know.
But I feel like I am more prone to doing like consistent strats. Like, you know, maybe it's easier to get a consistent segment, but you lose like a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And so like some of my runs, there is this the ragdoll clip is not perfectly consistent as far as we know. And so some of my PBs I've opted for a clip that's, you know, like 10-ish seconds slower, but will work like every time.
Yeah, do you eat that cut? It's like you get to a certain point of being so far ahead in a run that you're like, well, I don't want to lose it.
Exactly.
But you could, if you went for every hard thing in the run that's really far ahead, you could get the God run.
Yeah, well, yeah. So for me, I feel like it depends. And so on the ones where I go for that safe clip, like, oh, I could get the minute barrier. Like I'm far enough ahead that I could get it without.
No, I get that.
And so I've done that. But yeah, obviously, if you do the faster strat, it'll be faster.
Yeah, but I mean, yet another thing we put arbitrary value on of like below 44 minutes. Like, why aren't we putting equal importance on he got the sub 44:16? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, wow. And it's just this, you know, human desire to see nice round numbers. But I think it overall accelerates progress to have these goals that are, you know, if somewhat arbitrary, still exciting. And they do cause you to sometimes like, well, I'm on pace for a 43:30, but I only care about the 43:59, so I'll just play it safe from here.
But you know, there have been a lot of good moments of, oh, I finally got the sub-random arbitrary minute barrier.
Oh no, my proudest achievement in speedrunning was an arbitrary minute barrier. Like, it, you know, it feels good. And if you set that up as your goal and work really hard, you know, it doesn't matter what you decided your goal was. If you hit it, it's still exciting.
Exactly.
And we all there's nothing spicier than an hour barrier. Ooh, when somebody's like, I'm trying to get the sub hour. Oh, feed that straight to my brain.
Sub hour happened pretty quick in this game with ZDI. A 59. I don't remember.
This game did evolve pretty fast. And I feel like that's thanks to how much groundwork Breath of the Wild laid.
Definitely.
Can that door be skipped?
No. Because this glowing ball of light does not appear until you've opened that door.
So you just gotta get off the island somehow.
Exactly. I guess that means I should pick up an extra shield so that this doesn't die. But I think what happened last time is I had enough durability, as long as I didn't make mistakes on the duping, but my shield must have like taken a little bit of durability hitting the wing. we go.
Nice. Is your cue for when to jump off just when the thing starts flashing, or like what's the?
Yeah, which doesn't actually like work that well because if you're standing on the wing, then you move faster. Like when you do the shield jump, it kind of like dips back up. And so it'll go a different distance essentially before it start to disappear. Ooh, that is probably not good. Yeah, okay, definitely gonna need a new shield. Hopefully I remember that.
I can remind you. Which phase of army has shields?
I think Bokoblins and Zolfos. There have been times where, like, for instance, if I don't pick up the boss Bokoblin horn, I will need to duplicate the Zolfos horn instead. And I think about that. I'm like, okay, I just need to remember. But then, even though it's only like 4 minutes later, I just completely forget. Muscle memory.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember which of these guys has shields. I think it's just the black goblins, probably. Whatever, we'll pick up Lizolfa's shield, I think. Yeah, the reason you kind of want to only use one shield, part of that is because you get like a little tutorial prompt. For picking up 2 shields. Really 2 of anything.
Do the items all despawn in between phases?
Yeah. Well, not everything, but if there's enough stuff on the ground, then it will despawn previous items. Like if you don't pick up the boss Bokoblin horn before you kill the Gibdos, I think it'll disappear. Wait, did I have enough durability? I mean, I would have gotten it anyway, but... Oh. Okay, so today I've been messing that up. I think I just shield jumped early. I didn't actually get the ZR press. No, I cannot. Oh, well,
Very nice.
That's that's unfortunate. I took gloom damage, which means that the blade beam strat I did will not work. Yeah, for blade beams, you need to be at max hearts, which it's kind of interesting, but it's your like current max hearts. So if you get a heart deleted by like Ganondorf, then you get blade beams back. So a strat I used to do is like if I get to Demon Dragon and I have taken a Heart of Gloom damage, I will actually intentionally lag during the flurry rush, sure. But yeah, I'll intentionally get hit so that I have blade beams. And it's like worth it because the being in the air saves like 8 seconds.
So I imagine the 1.2 fight is quite a bit harder than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like instead of 3 flurry rushes, I think you have to do well, you get attack up food. Unless you're doing no amiibo. But basically just the number of flurry rushes you have to do is increased. I want to say we do like 9 compared to 3 in 1.0. And if you're doing no amiibo, then it's probably more than that.
That's rough.
But, you get good at it. I guess what would be really annoying is Ganondorf will like switch weapons, and some of the weapons are really bad for the run. Because if he gives you the club, then he only has like 1 or 2 attacks you can actually dodge, and he likes to do this like ranged attack, which you can't flurry rush because it's just a projectile. So in that way, like 1.0 is nice, and having Zuggle is nice because it removes some of that RNG.
Makes sense.
Although Zuggle and like the clips that skip the boss rush, I feel like there is. I do miss the bosses a little bit because I think it was quite cool. And like having to fight Colgera without glider is interesting. This strat took me like 10 hours probably of just like straight practice. You actually get somewhat consistent at.
Thanks, CFG.
Yeah. It is very cool though. I think the evolution of Demon Dragon has been really sick.
It's definitely 1,000 times cooler than Dark Beast.
Yeah. The fact that you can actually do it like fast. Okay, like right there I was trying to go for a backflip and I just missed it. So you'll see, well this is actually, that wasn't me making a mistake. It was me showing off what happens if you aren't in the air.
Right, an important distinction.
Yeah, so that long black screen just doesn't happen. And if you listen to the music here, it's off. Right, normally this matches up pretty well, but it sounds bad.
Why?
Because,
Is this fixed in later versions?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple of like weird loading things that 1.0 has that other versions don't. That's one of them. There's also like, after recall, I run out of the cave before warping because that warp is faster if you're outside the cave. Like if you're far enough away from the shrine, then the warp just happens faster. But that's not a thing on other versions.
Well, GG, P5. I mean, this is 2 completed runs on the day. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good. This one was almost another 50 or 45. So not bad.
Any shout outs you'd like to give? Plug yourself. What's going on in the Player 5 world right now?
Well, I have a YouTube channel that I upload, fun, informative speedrunning videos to. I've been doing lots of shorts, going over different
The shorts are really
developments. And then I'm also planning on making like longer videos talking about like Here's the King speedruns. So if you want to watch any of that, then make sure to go check out the YouTube at Player5SR and stay tuned.
Sick.
And then, I stream over on Twitch as well. So
check them out.
Maybe come hang out.
It's a good time. Stream's been bumping recently. It's been awesome. Gamers, thank you so much for watching PB Precipice today. Really appreciate you. You may have noticed, if you're a PB Precipice head out there, that we have migrated from every other Sunday to just the first Sunday of the month. This is because I just have a lot going on,
After all.
and this is more manageable. So thank you for watching the August edition of PB Precipice. We'll be back next month. Challenger approaching, still happening every other Friday for now, though, which is great. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. Some quick announcements here. Stick around. Obviously, right after this show, we're going to have an amazing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee tournament semi-final match on display here on the stream. Big day for Nintendo Switch speedrunning here on the GDQ Hotfix. Additionally, Frame Fatales is Games Done Quick's all-women online speedrunning community. The upcoming event, Flame Fatales, will run from August 13th to the 20th. The schedule is now out at gamesdonequick.com/schedule. And while you're checking out that schedule, feel free to submit a prize for the event. Use !FF in Twitch chat to submit your prizes. Last day for that is August 6th, which is today. But gamers, stick around. We're going to go to a brief break, and then we'll be back for more speedrunning with a Let's Go tournament. You're not going to want to miss it. This is a highly anticipated semifinal match. We got a couple dynamite gamers coming up. P5, thanks so much for joining, and everybody, thank you for watching.